I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need. In the off-white Rari, baby, we run the streets. I'm a K-I-N-G, Westside royalty. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, that's all you need. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need.
Welcome back, everybody. You're on my podcast, Get It, and I'm your host, Steven Basita. And today's guest is a man named Taylor, and we're going to just dive into his journey and the different things that he's done to get to where he is now. He's done MMA as well, which we're going to hit on, and just really a fun and unique story that's definitely worth listening to. So we're excited to have you guys here. If you're not a subscriber on YouTube, please make sure that you like us, comment, subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram as well as Facebook. We look forward to having Taylor on today. How you doing, my man?
Doing great, man. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. So I want to dive right into your journey, but I want to start with the MMA stuff because that's always something that's really exciting, and people, the sport continues to grow. More and more people are continuing to
either.
Yeah, people love it, man. So it's and having done it myself, I definitely can attest to how important it can be in life. So, talking about that though, I want to hear about your journey with it and the importance that it played in your life, even up through now.
Yeah, so it's funny because anyone who really knows me personally, they know the impact that it had on me or that it has on me. But I don't really mention it too much on my day-to-day activities. But I can say 1,000% I would not be where I'm at today. I would not be this successful without if I didn't train martial arts. It is literally the reason why I'm so successful.
And so what were a couple of the big factors that played in your life?
One, when people see martial arts, they think it's all about fighting, but it's the confidence that it builds inside you. The security that it builds inside you as a person.
Right.
The discipline that it teaches you. It really has helped me learn how to enjoy the process of things. Like when you get your target goals, they might seem almost unrealistic,
right.
But training martial arts for almost half my life has taught me how to enjoy that process of getting from the idea of making the target, and my target is way out there and it's unrealistic. Just the process of getting there. That's the most enjoyable part of hitting your goals, and that's what martial arts instills in your brain, jiu-jitsu, judo, MMA, boxing, kickboxing.
Right. Well, and I love the fact that you brought up goals. So many people, first of all, don't set goals.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, because if you look at any successful person, they're goal-oriented. So they are always setting goals. And I always tell people, look, I have a 1-year goal, a 3-year goal, and a 5-year goal. So, and every year, so I have my 1-year goal. Every year I still do my 1-year goal. So I do my 1-year goal my 1 year, then I make new goals for my 2-year, 5-year, right? Then for my 3-year, that's my year goals. Then for my 4-year, I make a new list of goals, and then I have my 5-year. Then once my 5 years over, then I do another 5-year goal. So I go 1, 3, and 5. But for me, goal setting is incredibly important because it gives me something that I'm constantly striving for. And again, part of it's the athlete inside of me. I grew up playing sports. Part of it, going back to the MMA training and really that discipline. But it's just such a great thing to do if you're actually going to go for it, right? Because you can set goals and have no aspiration to even attempt it. But
it doesn't matter if they're big or small. You have to have goals. You have to.
Yeah, and it helps. And the other thing, too, I think that people don't understand is if you actually are going to work on attaining those goals, whether we may be, like you said, small, big. You should have goals for every aspect of your life, and you should have some big goals that are hard to get to, because if you have goals that are hard to get to, well, if you attain those goals, that just means you attain some things that were really, really hard and really challenging to get to.
So for me personally, I like to say I don't make small goals. All my goals are almost unrealistic, but I have accomplished almost everything I've wanted to accomplish for the most part. But what it is I work backwards. I start a humongous goal that at that time might seem very far-fetched or just not reachable. And once I hit my target goal, and I'll start working backwards with smaller goals. And that's how I reach my big goals. I just work backwards.
Right.
And then it's just a domino effect in it. I hit these things fairly easy.
Well, that's good, because most people
writing it down. If I did, and listen, I do not write, I do not read, which I should. But when it comes to my goals, I write everything down on a piece of paper. And if I do not write it down, I usually don't hit it. You got to write everything down.
You have to. All of my goals, I put them on my bathroom mirror so I see them every day. And then I have a set in my car so I see it every day. And then my office, when I had an office. Right now at home's my office because we're still living with the whole COVID thing. But it is important. I do stress reading, though. I think reading is really important because none of us know everything. At the end of the day, we don't. We can say that we're great at certain things. I'm great at certain things. I still need to be better, though.
It's for your brain.
Yeah. And it's just so good for you to continue to learn. You know, I mean, out of all the books I've read in the last 10 years, not one was for just leisure reading and enjoyment.
Yeah.
So my parents just sent me finally. I had this series of books that I loved. It was one of my most favorite series. Actually, it is my most favorite series of books. And it's called the Shannara books. There's a bunch of them. Anyways, for those who don't know, I was dyslexic. I could barely read. I hated reading because I had such a hard time. My reading comprehension levels were very low. But basically, I hated books. I hated reading because it wasn't enjoyable and I didn't like it and I wasn't good at it. And I was always, being poked at, and again, dyslexic and also a little ADD or ADHD, one of the two. Anyways, not a good combination. So my dad gave me this book called The Sword of Shannara. And that one book, which is like close to 800 pages, crushed it. I read the whole thing in like 2 weeks. And after that, I got the Elfstones of Shannara and the Wish Song, and it just kept going and going and going. And Terry Brooks, who's the author of these books, there's like 25 of them. I read them all. And because of that, I started reading other books because it's not an easy series to read either. But then I started reading like the Hobbit books, and it opened my world up to reading. Yeah. And it really made my life much better when it came to reading comprehension. But that one book changed my life. The only reason why I say it is because I asked my parents to give me the Sword of Shannara book back because it's at their house. Sent it to me. This is the only book I've read. I've gotten through a few hundred pages. So we just had our daughter, who's actually on the floor next to me. She's 6 weeks old now.
Oh man, brand spanking new.
Yeah. But we were in the hospital for a few days. And so there's a lot of downtime in the hospital. So I took that book with me and I crushed like 400 pages in 2 or 3 days because I just needed to be present at the hospital. But that's my only one guilty book in 10 years.
I'm actually going to read it down. I need to start reading once we get off of this.
I'll give you some books to read, man. If you love having books that are really going to help you, there's 3 books that I think are the 3 best books that have really helped me in no particular order. Carol Dweck, Mindset. That is actually the best book I've ever read in my life. And I've read tons of books. I try and read about 6 books a year to 8 books a year. Carol Dweck's Mindset will change your life. If it doesn't change your life, then honestly, I don't know what to tell you. The one thing, who's that by?
I have that. That's actually that's what I just started reading. I'm like halfway through it.
There you go. That book, phenomenal, bro. And the thing about that book is there's times I could only read one chapter because I'm all about application.
Yeah.
Something that you're not going to apply. Yeah. What's the point of reading if you're not going to grow?
Halfway through it, but I've read halfway through it once, and then I listened to it twice. But I keep getting halfway through, and I'm like, I got to listen to this again, and I'll start listening to the audio again.
It's so good.
That book's awesome.
Yeah, it's so good. And you know, for me, that book really spurred on some of the best growth personally that I've had in my business.
It's all stuff that I know, but just the way they say it, it's just like, wow. It just simplifies everything.
100%.
That's a good one, man.
100%. Well, in that book, one of the things that they talked about that like revolutionized how I work was the part about multitasking. And all the studies they did about people that say that they're good multitaskers, right? And they don't accomplish as much as people that are just singularly focused.
That's why I haven't got past half of the book, because I like that part so much. I keep reading it and listening to it.
Yeah.
And I love the part, and it's so funny, when they start talking about entrepreneurs, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people always call me an entrepreneur, and I always think to myself, like, I mean, maybe, I guess, but I'm like, no, I'm not. Because I don't like to do a million different things. I like to be really good at one thing. And when I started hearing this guy, I'm like, man, that's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of, they say don't keep all your eggs in one basket. I've never been a fan of that, ever.
Right.
I've always thought you can't be good at anything. You're just spread thin.
Right. Yes. 100%. So I love that. That revolutionized my life. And subsequently my businesses too, because I was able to really focus on dedicating time. My time management skills went through the roof after reading that book. And then the third book is the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone.
I haven't read that, but I like him a lot, and I listen to a lot about it.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of that guy.
So
he's awesome.
The book, so he has a few books, but that one book, so I've read a few of them, but that book is...
I actually have that. I have it in my cart. I actually bought the book. I haven't read it yet, but I have it.
So knock out the one thing and then read that book next. Really good. And again, a lot of it isn't stuff that we don't already know, but it's the way he articulates things and he gives real world examples. Because, let's talk about entrepreneurship for a minute. Everybody thinks that being an entrepreneur is the best thing in the world. You're going to make your own schedule. You're going to live this life.
One of the most stressful lifestyle you could want to live.
Dude, it is. And there's a reason why most people that get into entrepreneurship fail, because people don't understand. You're not gaining anything in life from a time perspective. If anything, you're losing all the time in the world.
Yeah.
We could literally do a whole podcast on just entrepreneurship and all of the challenges that are encompassed, and just from a day-to-day life perspective, it's brutal.
Living off the land, it's on you. You got to make it happen.
Yeah, and people don't get that.
It's extremely stressful.
I've talked more people out of entrepreneurship in the last 10 years than I can count.
It's kind of becoming a fad now. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Everyone wants to have multiple businesses. It's almost like it's in style, kind of. But man, sometimes it's extremely luxurious just to work for somebody. It's just, it's a beautiful thing, but you're signing up to put in some work.
So there was this, to your point, there was this article that came out, and it was titled like the number twos you don't hear of, or the best number two. It was something about the number two. But what it did is it took the second guy in Facebook, right? Not Mark Zuckerberg, but his second guy, and how much money he was worth. You never hear his name. He's worth billions of dollars. The second guy at Amazon, the second guy with all these massive companies, right? Not the owner. Yeah. The second guy, the guy that is on a salary, exactly. And how much money they're making and how well they do in life. You never heard their name. They're the second guy.
The amount of headaches.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It's always nice. Yeah, like I accept that there's some people in this world and I put myself in this boat I wouldn't have a few years ago, but I do now, that are just meant to run their own show. You're meant to do your own thing. You're not meant to work for someone else per se. You're meant to do your thing, right? And maybe you are meant to have a company or merge your company one day or whatever it is where you have other guys, but you're kind of meant to be like at the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
And, you know, that really hit me after COVID hit. I lost my gym business, talked about it a little bit, but you know, you can't financially pay bills and all that. And it's a longer story. I'm simplifying it, but lost my gym business, had a small consulting firm I just started. That went away. You know, people are cutting expenses. Consulting is one of those things you're going to cut sometimes, especially when you're not making money, right? We're all in the same boat. In businesses in general, right? There's Amazon, which is not like the rest of us. And then, you know, my basketball club, which is fine now, it's growing again and stuff. But I took a job in Colorado to just weather the storm for a little bit. And unfortunately, COVID kind of knocked that out too. We've been here I lost that job right about 8 weeks. They escalated the shutdowns again here, and it is what it is. But what I did is I just started interviewing for just, you know, jobs, thinking maybe I should just, you know, work doing something for a little while. My basketball club was still like barely functional at the time. And that was quite the interesting experience because I went and had all these interviews, and I probably had 10 to 15 interviews with companies. And every company was like, well, we can't pay you what you're worth. You're overqualified for the position. Or I got a lot of, man, why aren't you just doing your own thing? Like, you need to be doing your own thing. I'm like, well, I was, but it's really hard to do right now. And I have a family I got to provide for, you know, and thankfully basketball picked back up. And so that is now my full-time thing. I started doing some consulting again on the side, but primarily just basketball, which has been good. But that like little stretch, which was about a month, man, I was so frustrated. I remember telling my wife, like, dude, this is the like, it's so challenging to be in this boat when, like, I know I should be running my own show, but like, I can't control what the world was going through, you know, and my wife has always worked for companies and she's just really done well. But yeah, man, that some people are just born to be entrepreneurs. And it sounds like you fit that mold yourself, where you're just, this is kind of the boat that you're designed to be in as well.
100%. And then there's other times too. So back in my barber career, you know, I've cut hair for 24 years as a professional.
So let's get to that. That was going to be kind of the next thing we segued into. So start with that though.
I'm adding on to what you're saying. Now, my family, you know, friends, they're always like, why don't you open up your own barbershop? Why are you always working for somebody that owns a barbershop?
Right.
And again, I was like, this is luxurious. I get to pay my booth rent, make as much money as I want, and leave when I want. That's a luxury. I didn't want the headache of owning the barbershop because it was a few $1,000s extra that I would make, and then it would consume my whole life.
Right.
So for me, I never wanted to own a barbershop. So I always paid my rent, and to me, that was a luxury. You know, I had no headache, and I had almost the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I got to the point where I was just like, I'm making my own rules now. I want my own. I want to paint the place the way I want to paint it. I want to do this the way I want to do it. And then that's when I was like, you know what, it's time for me to do my own thing.
Yeah.
But for years, I enjoyed the luxury, like you said, of the number two. You know?
Let's talk about your barber career because it spurs on where you're at now in life. So tell us and walk us through that story now, because you started doing that when you were really young.
Yeah. So in the 7th grade is when I did my first haircut. And again, this is me, my best friend, Jose. We were growing up and we didn't have money for haircuts. We're in middle school, so we want to look good. And we started cutting each other up. And we just kept on at it. And by the time high school came, I mean, from 7th grade, 8th grade into 9th grade, we started cutting up everyone in our neighborhood. And we got fairly busy doing it too. So 9th grade, I was offered a job in a barbershop, and I was like, I'm not good enough to cut in a barbershop. Like, I'm a little kid. I'm 15 years old.
Right.
This guy was like, Harrison St. Fleur, he owned a clean cut barbershop in Fort Lauderdale. And he was like, no, man. He's like, you're good. He's like, you're very good. He's like, I'm gonna make you even better. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And he picked me up, drove me to his barbershop, and I started cutting hair. And he taught me so much, man. He taught me a lot at 16 years old, which is the legal age in Florida to go to barber school. I went to cosmetology school, graduated that. And I got super lucky, man. I had this dude, Mr. Manny, old school Cuban dude. And when he saw me cut hair and saw basically I knew how to do almost every single thing that I needed to know, he was like, man, come to school, do your book work, get your ass to work. So he literally, I did everything once for him. So he knew I knew how to do it, and he let me go to work. And I graduated cosmetology school. Later on, graduated as a master barber again. And I've been cutting hair professionally since the age of 15 years old, man.
Pretty good. And how old are you now?
36.
All right. So you're doing the barber thing. And as you're moving through doing your barber stuff, you started to also segue into something else.
So I have an older brother. He's, I want to say he's 51 right now. So he did 14 years in prison. He's a tattoo artist. He's an amazing artist. My whole family's artists. My dad's an artist. My little brother's artist. My older brother's artist. So we're all, that's the only class I would get an A+ in. I'm a D student, So picking my older brother up out of prison after 14 years, my gift, like his coming home gift, I went to Chino, this guy Chino I know that owns a tattoo shop in Miami. And I bought everything he needed to do tattoos. So when he got out of jail, he can start making money. That was my gift to him. I was 18 years old when I picked him up, and he started tattooing, when he came home, and taught me how to tattoo at 18. So me, my younger brothers were doing tattoos. My older brother's a tattoo artist, and I just, tattooing off and on most of my life. And cutting hair was my true profession. So I never went super high with, tattooing. But I mean, I'm covered in tattoos, and I've been around tattooing and doing it since I was a kid. Yeah. So I had tons of experience in tattoos and barbering, and just the art forms of both. They're kind of hand in hand. A lot of barbers started off as tattoo artists, and a lot of tattoo artists start off as barbers, and they kind of make a transition, finding which one they like better.
I didn't actually know that. So why is that? Or maybe you don't know it, but
it's just they're just different forms of art. Cutting hair, it's kind of appealing to an artist, or doing tattoos is appealing to artists, and some people like to do sculptures. They're all different forms of expression.
Right.
People martial arts because it's a form, it's a way to express yourself.
Yeah.
So same with cutting hair, tattooing, drawing, all types of stuff, graffiti.
Right. Okay. So you're doing the hair as your primary thing, you're doing tattooing, you get paid for both. So how did you decide to balance your time? Was it just like, hey, I know that cutting hair is just my main thing, and tattooing is kind of my second thing, so I'm going to make sure that I'm making my money here, and then I'm making my side money here?
We're just doing, I'm early 20s. I'm just doing what I love. I'm just having fun. Cutting hair was my bread and butter. That's how I've made my money my whole life. And where was I going? Okay, so later on, down the line, cutting hair, at cutting hair, being a barber, pretty much the highest level as possible.
Sure.
when it comes to cutting hair. And a lot of my friends that started tattooing, when we were younger, they're extremely high level tattoo artists. They're amazing. They do mind blowing work. And I always had it in the back of my head, not like a guilt or a regret, but like I always wish I really stuck with it. How good would I be today?
Right.
So there's always that little regret in the back of my head. And then, years down the road, I end up getting both.
So now you're doing the tattooing, you're doing the hair, and then something happened in your life to get you to what you're doing more readily now. So let's walk through what that is.
So cutting hair for so many years, I'm burnt out. I'm walking around at like 230, 240. I'm a big dude. So standing up for 10, 12 hours a day is not that ideal for me.
Right.
It's pretty rough on my body. And I just felt like I got hit by a truck every day. I was just tired. And I was at, we're talking 20 years without a raise. You know what I'm saying? I was at the highest level, and there was nowhere else to go.
Right.
So I'm looking for a career change. I'm thinking about opening up maybe an MMA gym, physical training gym. That's just stuff that I know that I can do. And we're eating dinner at my sister-in-law's house one night, and they're like real spiritual people. And, I was talking to them and telling them I want a career change, but I'm kind of lost. I don't know what to do or where to go. And he tells me, my brother-in-law tells me, you have a career change coming, but you have no idea what it is. And I'm like, bullshit. What can I not know? What, you know what I mean? Career-wise, work-wise, what can I not know? And he's like, you have an amazing career coming, but you have absolutely no idea this even exists. And I'm like, this guy's nuts, right? Like, I don't even know this exists. He's like, you don't know it exists. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm optimistic. Hopefully he's right?
Yeah.
So about 8 months later, I'm cutting hair. I'm cutting one of my clients, and he's like, hey, how do you like my head? And I'm cutting his hair. I'm like, well, it looks good. We're big on hair enhancements in Miami and South Florida. So I'm like, you put maybe Just for Men on the hair dye on your head to like hide the baldness.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's a tattoo. And I'm like, oh my God. I was happy and mad because this is exactly what my brother-in-law was telling me about. I had no idea this exists, and I was pissed that I didn't invent this.
Right.
I should have been the one to invent this. And that was it. I was like, man, thank you, God. Thank you. This is what you told me about. And it was a done deal. The second I saw his head, it was a done deal. I was amazed by it, but looking at the work, I was like, I'm going to do this 1,000 times better. I'm like, there's no doubt about that.
Right.
So I started doing my research. And what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, it's called scalp micropigmentation. So I started doing my research. I'm looking up guys that are supposed to be world-renowned trainers, the popular dudes in this industry that I've never heard of in my life.
Right.
So I call a few of them up. They're not barbers. They're not tattoo artists. Their work is cool, but it ain't great.
Right.
And I couldn't justify getting trained by somebody that doesn't know anything. So I literally ordered every size liner you can think of, and I started tattooing my own legs, little dots. And once I found the needle size that I liked, I told my brother-in-law, let me do your head. My other brother-in-law. He's like, let me do your head. He's like, I don't know, man. He's like, scared. And I'm like, listen, if I fuck you up, I'm going to be banned from the family. Like, I promise you.
Right.
Come out. I owe him everything because he's like, fuck it. He's like, do my head. He's like, I trust you. And I did his head. It came out amazing.
Okay.
And the second I did him, I had 2 more guys booked that same day.
Nice.
As soon as they saw it, it was a wrap. And it was just a snowball effect from there. Like I said, I set goals and I just smashed all my goals. And I've never stopped since the day I started. And we're going 4 years now.
Okay, so I have two questions to follow up with this. So because of where your life is now, and you said you're with, your family and they're spiritual and they tell you that God has something different for you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a man of faith yourself now?
Yeah, I'm a spiritual person. I'm not like a crazy church person. I don't go to church, but I'm definitely about righteous living and how do you say it, like humanitarian, like I want to do good.
Okay.
I want wherever I go, I just want to spread love, I
only ask because I love that story. I'm a Christian and I love that story. And it's funny because I was a missionary.
Oh wow!
I don't think I ever really talked about it on my own podcast, but when I was my senior year in high school, instead of doing all the things that kids do their senior year, I went to Mexico for a few weeks in one of the really poor areas. And I built homes for people that couldn't afford them. Well, I loved it. So I played college basketball. So I played my freshman year, got a scholarship. I walked on and got a scholarship. And my freshman summer, I went and lived in Mexico for 2 months and just served people and just built these homes, all this stuff. And I really did enjoy it. There's, definitely some challenges living in a incredibly poor. I mean, poor that people in the States don't even understand.
No, I know. I have no clue.
The other thing too is I'm 6'3", and although I cut my own hair, and although it's not long anymore, it used to be longer and it's red, just like my beard. It was bright red. I'm a white guy, 6'3", probably like $175, but like
Canelo,
like a sore thumb in Mexico.
Like Canelo.
Oh, everybody loved to call me gringo. So, I'm in Mexico, so I do that. And, I really enjoyed it. And it really helped me just in my own walk with my own faith. And one of the things I remember, so the head missionary, his name was David. And he says, don't ever tell God what your plans are. He'll tell you, kind of thing. And I was like, look, I'm open for whatever. And I remember he challenged us. So we did this day of prayer. So I went to a beach by myself, like 12 hours, just prayed, had my Bible, reading the word, praying and stuff. And I asked God, I said, God, please, you can send me anywhere you want. I'll go anywhere you want me to go. Please don't send me to California.
Why?
That was my only request. Don't send me to California. I'll get into that. You can't make this stuff up.
Right.
I graduate college, and one of my best friends who I played college basketball with, he's like, hey, man, let's open up a gym business in California. I'm like, no, not going to California. I had a chance to be an intern with the Seattle Seahawks, as a strength coach. And I was all about that. Mm-hmm. Die-hard Seahawks fan. So I take an internship not with the Seahawks because I've been praying about it and like, where do you want me to go? And this other door opened up. So I went and take this other internship. And then eventually I'm fighting this whole I'm not going to California thing. And finally, God just started shutting doors, man. Like doors that were wide open for me. Uh-huh. And then all of a sudden they're not wide open anymore. And so I ended up moving to California. $500 in my pocket. Now I come from no money. Okay. My family is not going to help me. I had a 2002 Honda Civic, and this is 2006. Drive down there with $500 in my pocket, 3 bins of clothes in the car, down to Fullerton, California, which is in Orange County. I was supposed to have a place to live. I did not. I got there, and the room was given away. Jeez. So now I'm sleeping in parking lots in my car. I'm sleeping on people's floors or couches. I'm showering at the gym. I had 2 jobs, and then I started my training business. So for those of you that want to understand the life of an entrepreneur, that's it. I was homeless for 3 months.
Yeah, that's entrepreneurship. Right.
There was this one day. This furthers, I know that God had in store for me, what he had in store for me. There was one day I had $20, and that $20 was the only $20 I was going to have for 3 days. I hadn't eaten in one day. Now I had no gas in my car. So that $20 was either going to be for me to get to and from work, or it was going to be for food.
Yeah.
It could be for both. Well, I want to make my paychecks and I need to work. So $20 goes into my car. I don't eat for 3 days. Now keep in mind, I'm still surfing every day, at least twice a day. I'm in the weight room for an hour once a day. And I typically had another workout I do. But I'm still doing all this, only drinking water because I have no money. So I get to work. I worked at LA Fitness part-time while I was building my own training business. So I get to work and I just have this very frank prayer with God. I'm like, listen, I just don't think I can do this anymore. If this is what you really want me to do, I need you to show me in a big way that this is what you want. I have no food. I'm not getting paid for another day or so. I was like, look, I left my family. I left my friends. I left my support system. I did all this because I thought this is where you wanted me to be. And to be honest, I didn't think it was going to be this hard, and I'm really struggling, and I don't want to be in this boat anymore. And so I just prayed, look, if this is what you want, then I need you to show up and prove to me this is what you want, because I just can't keep this up. That morning, I get to work. I have this client. Her name's Ann. She's like my mom. She's my California mom. She's amazing. Love her. She's one of the most amazing humans I've ever met. She works out with me in the morning. So she has no kids. Her and her husband are quite a bit older, no kids. So she comes in, she's like, Steven, me and Bruce had this massive party last night, and we've got all this food at our house and we can't eat it. And I don't want to throw it away. Would you like it? Now I was living with my best friend and his 2 brothers. So there's 4 of us in this house, and pretty much none of us were eating much. Like Sean and Brett ate at work. They got like breakfast and lunch at work, and they just want to eat dinner. And they had a couple of family members. So like if they were really hungry, they'd go to their grandma's house or something, right? And Eric was kind of in the same boat, like not eating 3 meals a day kind of deal, right? So anyways, I'm like, yeah, of course. I go to her house. She's like, hey, you know what? Just back your car all the way up to the front of the door because there's just a lot of food. You're going to be walking back and forth. So I was like, okay, back up. I'm not exaggerating this story. It would be pointless to exaggerate this. There was so much food. It literally took up my entire, again, I have a 2002 Honda Civic. It took up the entire trunk of my Honda Civic, my entire back seat, my passenger seat, and the floors full of food. I literally text Sean, Eric, and Brett, and I was like, guys, if you're not home, get home. I have so much food. We're not going to be able to eat it all in a week. Knowing how hungry we all are, we're still not going to eat it all in a week. Everybody gets to the pad. We unload all this food. We unloaded so much food. We had no space in our fridge. We had no space on the kitchen counters, and we had to put it on the floors around our kitchen. We ate like kings for the next 3 or 4 days. After that, awesome. I never went another day without eating if I chose I wanted to eat, right? Like I've fasted before, but like I never had the problem of not being able to afford eating from that day forward. And I knew that God was like just giving me that extra sign that I needed in life, that he was going to take care of me. It was an amazing low experience. But the California question that you had, I'm going to be honest, man. I do love California now. I lived there for 15 years. I did enjoy it. But, when I had gone to California, first and foremost, it was always for vacation, right? Like we went to Disneyland as a family. And maybe we went to a beach, like maybe the San Diego Zoo or something. But, I also knew how, all the bad stuff about California. And I had experienced a little bit of that because when I lived in Mexico, we went to LA for a day and did some stuff on Skid Row. And you just hear all these stories from all these different people, it's just like, I don't know, man. I just had kind of this opinion of California, and I just didn't want to be part of it.
Yeah.
I wasn't where I wanted to be. And it was just funny how, and it's just funny how God works, So I'm glad, I met my wife there. I had my first daughter there, conceived my second daughter there, who's now
Look at that.
6-7 weeks old. She's in the room with me. She's been sleeping the whole time, man. She's just
That's awesome.
little,
Should be long probably.
yeah, I'm excited. She's little princess. My wife got me this girl dad shirt when I just had the one daughter. Now I have two, and we're gonna adopt one. So I gotta get some more girl dad gear because this is gonna get worn out. So that MMA stuff is important for me because I have to be able to choke out young bucks when they come trying to beat my daughters.
Yeah, I got my kids in jiu-jitsu now. And the first week, they were crying. Well, they were really excited to go. And then when we got there, they started crying. They didn't want to do it. But I got them on the mat, and we're going since Christmas. So, a couple weeks now, a couple months. And they like it. So I'm happy. I told them, it's mandatory. It's like school. You have to go at least 3 times a week.
I told my wife that before we had kids. I was like, they're going to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu twice a week minimum.
Yeah.
There's no option until they move out of the house. That's what they're doing. And they're doing Muay Thai twice a week. No option. Same deal. They can play whatever sport they want.
Force a sport on my kid. They can only play sports that they want to play, but this is mandatory.
Yep. 100%.
This is important as going to school.
It most definitely is. 100%. So now that you've gotten through, you're doing the hair stuff with the tattooing.
Scalp micropigmentation. We call it SMP for short.
Okay, SMP.
Industry term.
And so is this what you see as the last part of your career where this is where you're going to end up going through until retirement?
Just getting my feet wet, man. I will never stop. I need action. Oh, man, I enjoy everything about life. And I love my career now. I love cutting hair. I love doing scalp micropigmentation. But it's still a stepping stone. I have to keep going up,
Okay, I like that.
Stop. I can't. Good. I'm not contempt at all, but in a good way. I'm extremely grateful for everything I have, but not contempt is I always have to get better.
Okay.
So
let's get to how people can follow your journey here. Because, you've got an interesting story. And of course, that's one of the big things I love having. I love having people that have a journey and they're continuing their journey. So let's go through your Instagram, your website, your email. How can people follow you? How can people, have you do work if they need something? All right. Taylor Perry.
Perry.com, Instagram, Taylor Perry, Facebook, Taylor Perry, Google, Taylor Perry SMP, Taylor Perry, not Tyler Perry. That guy kills me on Google. If you type in Taylor Perry without SMP, you're going to see Tyler Perry.
Okay. And then for booking your business, it's book now at taylorperry.com. For those who just need to have that spelled out, it's book now.
For booking, to get your head done, or for men and women, book now at taylorperry.com, or just Google Taylor Perry SMP.
And for those who this is just audio, if you're listening, it's book now at Taylor, which is TAYLOR Perry.
Get a hold of me, taylorperry.com, and you have all my handles there.
Perfect.
Phone number, all my social medias. Also, I'm super happy to announce for about 8 months, I have been filming and building out an online training course, which I thought was going to be an easy project, and it's was nowhere near that.
No,
officially, we officially launched it, and we're live. So I have my full entire curriculum. It's about 4.5 hours of video content, 16 chapters, and anyone who wants to learn this service and provide the service, it's there. And I also do in-person trainings.
Perfect. Awesome. So that's going to be good. And then do you have any sort of like gear or merchandise that you're selling?
I have e-commerce is almost finished, but I have a full supply. Like pretty much my website is going to be, or is the hub for scalp micropigmentation. Whether you want the procedure done, whether you just want to know information about it, you want to learn how to do it, you're an artist and need supplies, needles. I have absolutely everything on my website. It's one-stop shop.
Awesome.
No matter what your need is.
Well, perfect. Well, for all those listeners that want to get involved, there you go. Make it easy on yourselves. You guys have been doing it for a long time. And you look very clean, my man. For those who can't see the audio, because we have a pretty big, or I'm sorry, the video, because we have a huge audio audience as well. He's clean looking. By the way, though, how do you like my haircut? I do this all on my own.
Good,
and
man.
I go for like a little bit of a white, skinny Rick Ross. So I keep my facial hair a little long, but I clean it up underneath, and then I keep a nice little short fade.
Awesome, man.
My wife hates it, though.
Really? Beard?
I don't know why, man. Everybody likes the way it looks.
I cannot shave my beard. I look like a complete idiot when I shave my face. I will never shave my beard, ever.
I don't either. I buzz it down, but I look like a kid.
Exactly. So I shaved my face one time, just, I don't know, being bored. This was the once and only time I shaved my face, and I was walking in the casino to go play poker, and they freaking stopped me to ID me. Like, I'm fucking 6'2".
Bro.
What do you mean? He's like, you look like a little kid, though. I'm like,
I got one better for you. I was 32 the last time I clean shaved.
huh?
I went to Best Buy to buy a rated R movie.
Don't tell me they asked you for ID.
They asked me for my ID, and I had my ID in my car. All I had was the cash to buy the movie. I had $20. The movie wasn't more than $15. So the lady's like, hey, do you have your ID? And I started laughing, and I was like, yeah, it's in my car. And she's like, okay. And I was like, okay. Well, she's like, I'm not selling this to you without your ID. And I said, wait a minute. You're being serious. You're not going to sell me the DVD. And she's like, no. And I was like,
What the hell?
I was like, ma'am, I am 32 years old. She's like, prove it. So I had to go back to my car. She wouldn't let, so she has the DVD now. I take my money, I go back to the car, find my ID, go back in and show her my ID. And she thought it was fake. She asked a manager. I'm 32 years old.
Oh my.
Why would I have a fake ID that says I'm 32 if most kids they're smart. They go 21, 22 at the most.
Yeah, exactly.
It says 32 on my ID. She calls a manager. The manager comes over and they like do a little scan thing to my ID to make sure it was not fake. And then they sell me the DVD. I'm like,
Karen.
I think I'm not even 18 years old.
That's the meme on social media. She's a Karen.
Bro, that's right. You know what's the worst? My mom's name is Karen.
No way. Oh man.
So when these Karen videos start coming out,
Getting roasted left and
I'm
right.
like, oh no, my mom. So my mom lives in where I grew up, in a small town, Kingston, Washington.
Uh-huh.
Population was less than 1,000 people till a few years ago.
Oh wow.
I was like, well, at least my mom lives in a small town, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But God forbid she lived in a big city and her name's Karen. And somebody would be like, Karen, party of two. You know, it's just like, nothing can go well with that name anymore. I feel horrible for my mom.
Oh man. That's awesome.
It's bad. What's the male version name? Is it Kevin?
What is that?
Kevin? It's Karen something else.
Damn it. I can't remember, bro.
Well, at least it's not my dad's name, because that would suck if my dad had the name that goes with.
Oh man, you're the same name. I don't know. I forget what the man name is. Maybe it's just a man. They call it a male Karen.
Hopefully that's what it is. Because man, yeah, I feel bad for my mom. But listen, my man, I appreciate having you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Great talk.
Again, for everybody that's listening, go onto his website and you can get all the stuff that you want. Check him out. You can follow him on Instagram. And again,
I get tons and tons of DMs a day on Instagram. I answer absolutely every single one of them. So any questions, just DM me. I'm real active on it. And anyone listening, man, just life's amazing. You can literally do anything you can think of. It's just setting goals big ones and work your way down and line up the dominoes. But just like jiu-jitsu, enjoy the process. You know, if you enjoy the learning of it, that's going to be amazing.
You're stealing my line.
Am I? Did I?
I usually actually say enjoy the ride, but enjoy the process, definitely.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, my man. So for all of you listeners, thank you so much. You're with Stephen Basita, your host on my podcast, Get It. We're on the Social Nostra Network. And again, we're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Pandora. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Please follow us, like us, subscribe, comment. I also respond to all of my comments. My Instagram is included on the bottom, SS Basita. I respond to all my messages, and we appreciate you guys. Take care, stay safe, God bless, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.